Okay, welcome everyone. I'm Sarah Vogel. I'm from Environmental Defense Fund, and I'm a partner of the Clean Air Catalyst. I'm joined today by a number of our partners, as well as Stephen Bland, our Chief of Party, and Beth Elliott, who served as our communications lead from WRI. Um, on behalf of all of the partners, I just want to extend my real gratitude for everyone taking time to join us today, and especially to some of our honorable guests who are going to be joining us for the discussion. It's really a great pleasure to have you with us. Just before give a few opening remarks, just a few housekeeping rules. Please do introduce yourself in the chat, and we really encourage people throughout the discussion to be putting in comments and questions in that chat function. We do have simultaneous translation for today's webinar, English to Bahasa. Most of the webinar will be in English, but the panel on Jakarta will be in Bahasa. So you may see the interpretation icon at the bottom, or if you don't see that, click on More, and you should see interpretation and that option. Um, if you have any questions, you can chat the team if you're having issues. Great. So let's get started. Today's webinar is going to explore some of the really incredible work that we've done to deliver cleaner air in three cities, Nairobi, Kenya, Jakarta, Indonesia, and Indore, India, as part of the Clean Air Catalyst program. I know this group knows well the threats to air pollution, to our health and the economic livelihoods of people around the world, and just the tremendous benefits that investing in clean air brings to building health and wealth around the world. So the Clean Air Catalyst started as a cooperative agreement between USAID, WRI, EDF. And go to the next slide, Beth. Show all the partners, Vital Strategies, Columbia University's Clean Air Toolbox for Cities, the Climate and Clean Air Coalition, OpenAQ, MapAQ, and then a suite of partners on the ground over the years. And it was launched in 2020, really to, deliver on this promise for how do we build solutions to clean air. And we started with this simple recognition that good policies, laws, and science on air quality are necessary, but they're often insufficient in achieving real results on the ground if we haven't done the hard work of building political and public, you can go back, please, public support. So to address this critical need, the Catalyst approach was really grounded in collaboration, designed to build trust and a shared understanding of the problem of air pollution in each city and the solutions to driving cleaner air among a diverse set of stakeholders across civil society, the government, and the private sector. We had three pillars of the program, and Beth, you may need to skip two slides forward. I thought I'd shifted them, sorry. So to the next one or one more over. The first was to focus on building a shared understanding of the sources of pollution and really expanding the ability and capacity to measure air pollution in each of the cities. The second was focused on what we refer to as co-designing solutions, identifying those priority polluting activities and collectively identifying what solutions may work. And the third was really fostering collaborations by building these strategic coalitions. And that got at the root of the work across each of the pillars of building trust and collaboration. And throughout these activities, we considered how those polluting activities and the proposed solutions could also improve community health, the lives of those most vulnerable to pollution, and make advances on climate change. The name Catalyst at the time was really chosen for a reason, and is that we sought to create this kind of catalytic shift in the public and political landscape that could put in motion near-term and also long-term action and investment in cleaner air. And we've had a significant impact. These are just a few, you can go to the next slide, accomplishments from over the years. I won't read them all, but a lot of people trained on air quality, including healthcare workers, journalists, We've expanded to 12 new monitoring sites, building coalitions in all 3 cities, and really expanding the scientific foundation of understanding air pollution and its impacts and sources in all of the cities. As we all know, very sadly and unnecessarily, the project was terminated in January of 2025 at the very beginning of the Trump administration as the administration completely dismantled USAID. This was in the final year of the program. But today we really want to reflect on and celebrate what was accomplished and how progress continues to move forward. So what we're going to do is first we're going to hear from Stephen Bland on 6 key action areas for international development practitioners and others working in cities and regions on clean air, based on really the collective experience and wisdom of everyone here. And then we're going to have 3 panels from each of the cities. And then we'll open up to some just kind of closing reflections from the team and from hopefully from all of you. So let me turn it over to Stephen.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And I want to reiterate your opening remarks about how great it is to see so many partners, friends, and faces we also don't know here on the call to learn and discuss together. It's been a real privilege to have been part of the Clean Air Catalyst for the last almost 2 years, a year and a half that I've been on it. And I know that many parts of this call have been involved right from the very beginning 5 years ago. We have some great stories and experiences and lessons to share with you. This is very much a distillation of hundreds of people's experiences where we've tried to come up with 6 action areas. It's going to be a very brief overview of each, very brief. Beth and I are going to go through it because what we really want in this webinar is to focus on the experiences of our team in doing this in practice, the how of these 6 headlines and the lessons learned and the challenges and the good work that's been done along the way. So I'll briefly outline the first 3. The first is adopt a data to action approach. Really crucial to the Catalyst was that data is for the purpose of acting, and we have to communicate it and design our science in a way that leads to action and can support action by community activists, by government, by policymakers. This is about improving access to pollution data and using that data to empower government and all of our partners to better understand the local sources of pollution. But here we understand data to be something quite wide. It's both the monitoring data that comes from monitoring stations, it's the scientific studies, source apportionment, source attribution, etc. But also we know that there's important that clean air action is grounded, and this is the second action area, in the political, economic, and social context of local pollution. And for that, we need other types of data too. Clean Air Catalyst used approaches such as root cause analysis, political and gender economy analysis, as also crucial inputs into building source awareness and building our shared understanding and the case for action. We know that air pollution is actually a health issue, it's a climate issue, and it's a gender and income inequality issue. And so working very much grounded in these realities is our second action area. The third is to foster collaboration with existing initiatives. It's perhaps an obvious thing to say, but this is, if we want to build a data to action approach, this is absolutely vital. And the political economy analysis is a tool for making sure that the work that a project, a practitioner, or a government official is trying to do is really grounded in the best chance of leading to action. And when we build collaboration with government and community initiatives, this is focused on trying to break down the silos between sectors, between government departments, between our own partners and institutions, and within our own organizations. So a multi-level and a multi-sector approach that can also lend itself to improving policy action, because if we get at the intersectoral issues at play, we can help to unlock financing as well. So you're going to hear lots of experiences of our teams in trying to do that in practice. Easy to have on a slide of 6 actions, harder to do in practice. And our teams have done a brilliant job at doing it. So I'll hand over to Beth for the last three of our action areas. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Stephen. So yeah, you mentioned silos. Our next action area is, about that we invested a lot of effort into building the cross-cutting coalition of clean air champions that, extended beyond the air quality field into many, into health, into climate and other areas. Public health officials, medical professionals, and community health workers proved to be our best allies in building the political case for clean air action in all of our cities. Likewise, partnerships with civic and grassroots organizations such as the Urban Poor Consortium in Jakarta and community groups in Nairobi's informal settlements gave us vital ground truth data, insights, and stories that really proved powerful testimonials for policy change. And finally, we also focused on building bridges with the climate community to reinforce and amplify the message that action on air pollution is action on climate. Next action area focused on, effective communication of data. We in Catalyst invested, significant project resources in media engagement, community outreach, and communications products tailored to the goals of our specific stakeholder engagements. And this really proved critical to our success as well. As a general principle, we found that effective communication requires translating data into actionable insights that are relevant and accessible to journalists and other, groups and stakeholders that we worked with, simplifying and most importantly, humanizing abstract air quality data and numbers through health-centered storytelling really works better. I think probably everyone can agree on that one. Finally, co-designing politically smart solutions that are investment ready. This action area really flows from the other action areas to result in data-informed city actions. We found that, embedding solution design processes in existing infrastructure policies and decisions, by doing that, clean, aware actions can more easily be mainstreamed into investment decisions. So I'll head back to you, Sarah. These are our top 6 action areas for effective urban clearing air action based on the experiences of our interdisciplinary teams. So now looking forward to hearing from our cities.
Great. Thank you, Stephen and Beth. And we're going to actually dig into some of these action areas in these next 3 city panels. We're going to begin with Nairobi. For that discussion, we really want to explore this importance of understanding the political economy of air pollution and the importance of breaking down government silos as key factors in building success and momentum on clean air in this incredible capital city. So I want to introduce Ivy Morgar, the program manager for WRI, who's going to kick off the discussion and lead her panel. And I want to kind of throw this question to you, Ivy. It's so nice to see you. Nairobi project started a little later than the other ones. So talk to us, as you lay this out about the importance of building this kind of collaborative approach and that early emphasis on multi-level government engagement and partner engagement to build more lasting solutions. So over to you, Ivy.
Thank you, Sarah. And rightly so, we started 2 years later than the other 2 pilots, but thanks to this amazing group called the Nairobi Air Quality Working Group and our CAC partners, we managed to catch up, and we've seen a lot of transformation in the space, in the air quality space in the past 3 years. So it's been a great journey. Just to mention that we launched the Clean Air Catalyst in June of 2022 and had an amazing group of people who joined us. And you can see some of them there, where we called a launch meeting where we tried to prioritize and understand what is happening in the space in Kenya and in Nairobi in particular, just to find a way to foster and catch up and make sure we meet some of our targets as we move from data to collaborative action in Nairobi. And we managed to establish the Nairobi Air Quality Working Group, fondly known as NAIR. And since then, we've had 80 plus members, and it's been an amazing, amazing journey working closely with these groups. We have 5 committees, research and data, community engagement, and gender justice. We have the policy and legislative and health committees, and all these committees have been working together over the years, and we are happy to see that it's transitioning even after the Clean Air Catalyst to try and find solutions for Nairobi, and not only on data, but also moving to actionable actions in some of the sectors. And once the NAIR was established, a lot of the members sat down and we agreed what could be the prioritization. We couldn't do everything. So we had to prioritize sources on areas of focus for Nairobi. And the committees, respectively, looking at exposure and all that, identified transport as a major source and waste as a major source. And what was unique for Nairobi as well is not only transport, which we know is the biggest issue in Nairobi, but also we came to realize that hospital waste is a serious issue in Nairobi, and we thought as a catalyst, why can't we move forward with a lot of the partners to see how we can work this? And that's what led to Solutions for Actions through, and that's where a specialized group on health and a specialized group on transport under NAIR was established to support the implementation of the East Africa Vehicle Emission Standards and also reduce hospital waste burning in our cities. And with that, we sort of have moved, and we're seeing amazing things that the city, not only the city, but also the national government is trying to do to address air quality. And it couldn't have happened without a lot of our partners. And just in the interest of time, we have an amazing group of what I call champions, not only policy champions, but action champions who have been moving and taken up, ownership of actually addressing air quality, not only in Nairobi, but at the national level too. So I would love to introduce our panel today. We have Selela Okoth, who was the former NAIR chair, but now sits at the Treasury. She used to head the air quality work at NEMA, and she has been she started the whole conversation and understanding of how to move vehicular emission standards here in Kenya. And welcome Selela to the panel. We also have joined by Maurice Kavai, who's the Deputy Director of Air Quality and Climate Change at the county. We also have James Mwita from Nairobi City County, who heads the medical waste docket. And we also have Stella from Internews, who was amazing in trying to transform media in Kenya. So without further ado, I'd just like to welcome Selela and just ask a few questions, Selela. We've seen a significant transformation in Kenya's and Nairobi's air quality space in the recent years. Just from your through the journey, could you just highlight some key milestones through this transformation, touching on legislation and action since the start of this collaboration with this amazing group of people? Over to you, Selela.
Thank you very much, Ivy. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes, we can.
So allow me to say thank you to the Clean Air Catalyst team, and specifically to Dr. George Mwaniki and Ivy, who actually they are coming into this particular project. Basically was the game changer to us. I must admit that before the Clean Air Catalyst came to be, we were all into different categories. The Nairobi County government had their work, and NEMA as the national regulator had its work, but there was no common platform for conversation. And so the coming of this particular project brought us the NAIR, as Ivy has correctly put it, that brought us together to start having this conversation. And also critically to acknowledge that most of us in developing countries, we don't have the in-depth science about air quality. And so this gave us a platform to enhance our level of knowledge. Our capacity has duly been enhanced, and that has been very instrumental in some of the policy decisions that have been made in the recent past in Kenya. So when you look at us, and probably anyone who ever got an insight into the air quality regulations of 2014, you could really pick quite a number of weaknesses. And through this particular CSC, the NAIR as the platform for engagement, we got great insights from the experts, from various players, and that really shaped the outcome of the currently the gazetted air quality regulations of 2024, where we had to engage in the standards, national ambient air quality standards. We strengthened the requirements for emission testing from vehicular and other sources of emissions from not only vehicles, but we also widened to think about marine vessels, among others. And actually, this has made quite some milestone, because today as a country, we speak about East African standards on vehicular exhaust emissions. We know it as the EAS 1047, but good enough, Kenya has moved ahead to adopt this through this particular NAIR platform. So we have the KS EAS 1047, which Kenya has adopted, and they set various parameters and particular standards depending on the Euro standard of each and every motor vehicle. So when you look at all this, to us, these are quite some milestones that we cannot just undermine. And I want to assure you, and from what I'm seeing, there's a lot of progress going on. First, to do the actual emission testing. These are things that even political buy-in have become very important. And within NA, we've had people who can engage very high-level policy teams to make sense out of this. It's not just about science. It's about economics. It's about the health of the people. So these conversations using the platform of NA have been very transformative. And I think Kenya as a whole can no longer speak about air quality as a business as usual scenario. We have changed our thoughts. We've changed our processes. We've changed the technical capacity has adequately been enhanced. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Selela, for that. It really gives us a snapshot of the journey where Kenya has started and where we are going to, and we look forward to more and more happening. And I just want to pick up from where Selela left, back to Maurice. In Nairobi, it was identified that transport is still a big issue. Just to hear from you, how has the journey been? How has the work from data to action, how has it helped transform the transport sector? Has it helped transform the department on air quality and as well climate change as you move to addressing this pertinent issue in the city? Over to you, Maurice.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ivy. I must wish everyone an happy International Clean Air Day. Now that it's not more than 72 hours when it just happened. So I want to really appreciate the team from W Africa, especially the Clean Air Catalyst team, the project in Nairobi, that is Ivy and George. For the efforts which they put towards the implementation of this project. I remember very well when they came in, we were just like about 2 months old. We didn't have staff actually to be able to put together and support this project. But throughout the journey, I would say that we are the biggest beneficiaries of the Clean Air Catalyst project. Moving from a single-headed unit with one staff to now boasting of 12 staff who are capable of actually implementing clean air interventions across the big city of Nairobi. I want to say that a lot happened, and I just want to mention a few. There was a lot of duplication then. Partners could not sit together and agree on a common cause when it comes to issues of air quality. But due to the working together, that collaborative approach that is between the partners, the scientific groups, and other partners who are very keen on the Nairobi Equality Working Group, the city was able to take its mantle when it comes to issues of air quality. And therefore, we were able to prioritize air quality as one of those issues which was supposed to really work within a very short time. And therefore, one of the benefits which came in handy immediately after we started working on the Clean Air Catalyst project is the issue of now allocating some resources in the air quality unit. And within the first year of working together with the Clean Air Catalyst, the city was able to allocate its first budget to purchase some air quality monitoring devices. In addition to that, we're able to prioritize air quality interventions in our the annual development plans and also the CIDPs, making the city recognize that air quality is no longer an environmental concern, but also a public health concern. We are able to also work with the media, and initially we were getting a lot of litigation, especially from the public, because they assumed that the city was not doing enough when it comes to issues of air quality. And therefore, working with WRI through the Clean Air Catalyst project, we're able to sensitize the media team. And one of the striking things is that cases of litigation came down. The media was able to report positively about the things which the city was undertaking, and the concept of air pollution became a reality in the city, with the city now taking more strides in developing what we call moving from actions, moving policies from planning, and making sure that some of the activities, some of the interventions could really be on some resources and under attention. A striking thing which we did was to be able to come up with a low emission or rather emission inventory, whereby looking at the emission from the city, by going further, we realized that on the transport corridor, there was a lot of emissions. And therefore, the city started now focusing on transport emissions. And one of the things which we have really implemented is expanding the transport corridors along in the city. We have also put a lot of efforts. We have also put a lot of efforts in terms of expanding our non-motorized transport. And as you walk in the CBD, you can really realize that there's a lot of work being done on the same. Another thing which came in handy is the issue of having the reference grade monitoring grid. I would say that this kind of investment is one of its kind, and there is no other city in Kenya which has this kind of a facility. And therefore, we're able to move from data to action. And looking at all this, I want to say that the city now is able to really make a decision based on data. And I would say that we are really making strides as we work on our interventions towards air quality. Just to highlight what we were able to do yesterday, I know time is not on our side. Yesterday, we were able to actually implement some of these actions, and we were able to influence operators to switch off their engines to reduce emissions. And I would say that this is something which was highly welcome. And when we're looking at our media platforms, I would say that we had over 100,000 views, meaning that now the city is actually gaining momentum when it comes to issues of air quality. Lastly, and not the least, e-mobility has taken shape in the city. And as we speak now, we are looking at how the city can come up with charging frameworks, because we realize that if we concentrate all the charging investments in the city, that one could also lead to a different problem. And therefore, our team are actually sitting down as we speak, looking at how they can be able to deploy charging stations for electric mobility to different corners of the city. All this withstanding, I really want to appreciate WRI for spearheading this, together with the partners, NEMA and all that. Then the last one, the intersectoral collaboration. I would say that we couldn't sit down with other sectors confidently, but as we speak right now, the city can, invite other departments to sit down very, very well and discuss air quality issues without any problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Morris. And just picking up on interdepartmental and intersectoral conversations, we are pleased to have James with us from the Health Department at the Nairobi City County. Morris, I know you've been working very closely with him as you try address, hospital waste as an issue as well, and its impact on air quality in the city. But just James, just picking up on Morris, I know we started without knowing this was a problem in Nairobi, but now we have learned more, and we just want to hear from you how the progress is going. What have been the challenges? How are you moving forward in addressing this issue as we try and address air quality in Nairobi? Over to you, James.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate just to be able to highlight some of the concerns that have been in Nairobi County. And one of the things I will appreciate, Ivy, you really made it possible for us also to meet with my colleague Kavai, who we are in the same sector. And I really appreciate it. It's one of the achievements. But of course, over to the other issues is that mostly we realized that hospital waste was not really, people didn't know that it is a concern. And in Nairobi County, mostly the way we usually treat our medical waste is actually by incineration. And they're usually found at the referral hospital. And most of these incinerators are not, they don't have air quality controls. These and some of them are old. So when we went around and when we did the feasibility study and also checking with the quality of air, we realized that they were really not very much up to standard, and therefore we were really polluting the environment. As we tried to compare, some of the pollutants which are usually emitted from an incinerator, they are usually very bad. We are having about 12 pollutants. The likes of the particulate matter, the metals like lead, mercury, and cadmium, the acid gases, oxides of nitrogen, carbon monoxide, organics. We have got various materials present, such as pathogens, cytotoxins, and radioactive. Then we have got toxic organic compounds, such as dioxins and furans, and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. After realizing that these are the ones which are usually emitted, it was a concern. And we were able to share these with WRI, and we are so grateful that WRI, the Clean Air Catalyst, they have been able to support us. The likes of Dr. George and Ivy, they were really able to support us, and we realized that we needed to move so fast because the challenge was great. The challenge with an incinerator being placed in an hospital whereby people are immunocompromised, it's making them even not to come up from the diseases that they are having. They are not able to respond to the treatment very well. So when we realized that was a big challenge, after sharing with WRI, we were able to come up with environmental friendly technologies, whereby we were moving from ban technology to non-ban. And for a start, the county piloted on the two sub-county two sub-county health referral facilities, which is Mbagathi and Mama Lucy. So for Mbagathi Hospital, we were able to buy a microwave, 100 kg per cycle, capacity of 100 kg. Then we are having at Mama Lucy Hospital, where we are having 50 kg per cycle. Those are microwaves. But of course, that one was enough for that particular hospital. Just to move from ban to unban. Then we had a challenge of, we had no legislation, we had no policy guideline. So WRI and UNEP supported us just to come up with the policy, which it was at a zero draft, and now we are just about to go to the last to the final draft. Then we'll be able to launch it to be used in Nairobi County. Then we insisted on the use of 4Rs, the reduce, reuse, recycle, and recover. And we are so grateful that
If you'll
the
allow me to
WRI,
ask you to final parting shot and that
okay,
statement.
sorry. Okay, fine. So we were able to do the meetings, and we got the stakeholders who are able to help us, and they were able to encourage us to do the recycling and all that. So far, we have really moved a step forward, and I'm happy that the public has really been seeing, and I know we'll be able to achieve more. Thank you so much, Ivy. Over to you.
Thank you so much, James. That's been amazing. And we thank you very much for being, when people are not listening, you continue to push on the hospital waste matter. And for our final panelist of the day, we have Stella from Internews, this amazing group that transformed the space in terms of stories. Stories do make a difference in terms of addressing, especially the health component when it comes to air quality. The fourth estate is very special. Just share with us, Stella, we have a lot of people listening in. How can media be used as a proponent of transforming the space? And not only that, how did you do it? There's been an amazing change, and a lot of our panelists are also listening. A lot of your informats are also listening. So please share with us this journey that Internews supported through the project. Over to you, Stella.
Thank you, Ivy. It's amazing to be here and to be meeting all these partners that we have worked very closely with not so long ago. From our experiences, the media, and I think Maurice mentioned it as well, Stephen mentioned it, and so did Beth. The media in Nairobi actually has played an exceptionally active and constructive role in highlighting air quality issues in Nairobi. And I think this was possible only because we treated them not as a tool to disseminate our messages, but as a partner. So we treated them as, we engaged with them as partner as well. And because of that, before we started, any media engagement at Clean Air Catalyst, we actually researched the air pollution media landscape in Nairobi. And through that, we understood not just the barriers and the gaps in Nairobi in air pollution reporting, but the challenges that the media has and what is required to overcome these challenges. And we let these findings shape our entire media engagement all through the course of the project, be that the trainings that you can see in the slides, or the story grants, or the mentorship that was provided to journalists, or any other media-related activities, whether that's regular media outreach, sharing of any new information, etc. It was all directed by what we learned from our media landscape before. And how did that help? So what we saw, I would just share, maybe not in the interest of time, not more than a couple of points. So the first one is we saw that the media not only played the role of informing the public, but they try to actively shift the existing narrative on clean air action in Nairobi. For an example, the journalist not only reported about the clean air actions that were launched by the government or any other such actions under Clean Air Catalyst, but also went back and investigated the effectiveness of any previous actions that were launched way before Clean Air Catalyst project even started. And the second and most important one is that we saw journalists shifting their own approach to air pollution. The media actually was no longer just looking at air pollution as dirty air, but was reporting of air pollution as its intersectionalities and its multidimensional impact on local population. One very quick point is that I'm so happy to say that all through this, the course of media engagement, our experts pool and our partners of Catalyst were fully available. And journalists had wide and open access to all these experts, whether that's for a very quick comment on a breaking news story on air quality, or for a more detailed, informed interview or explanation of more complex issues related to air quality data and science, or more layered issues like gender equity and rights. So finally, I would say that I'm very confident to say that today, the media coverage of air quality and air pollution issue in Nairobi is very sustained and very impactful. That's the phase I think it is now. And any future work done by whoever comes to work on Nairobi will only add to this, because what Catalyst has done is lay a very rock solid foundation of media engagement. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stella. And in the interest of time, I'd like to turn this back to Sarah for the other cities. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
someone
yes,
just-
we can
Okay,
hear you,
sorry,
Zara, yeah.
I got an unmute button. Great, that was incredible. And as you know, we could have spent hours on any of these cities. I'm gonna turn it over to Jakarta, and I'm gonna hand it to Danny Jaram in just a minute. I just want to thank the Nairobi panelists for all that incredible work. And just to remind you all that this will be a bilingual panel, so please, you can look for that simultaneous translation button. So one of the things I think we're going to explore in this panel is really developing the work of collaborative policy relevant science with local partners that have addressed priority sources in Jakarta. And so Danny, you're going to kick off this great panel. And I think you're going to kind of ground us in this data to action approach in Jakarta and the impact that it's had on pushing more ambitious policies in the city. I want to note we are running a little behind. So we want to try to spend 20 minutes because we do have our dear colleagues in India who want to have as much time. So over to you, Danny. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And I'll keep this brief. So, well, our effort in Jakarta started with a simple idea, and I believe Stephen has mentioned this in the beginning as well, and that is good data is the foundation for effective policies, right? So when we began in Jakarta, it only has 9 reference grade monitoring stations, just 9, right? And that was far below what's needed for a mega city like Jakarta, and considered as one of the most polluted city in the world. Studies have shown that we need at least 25 stations, right, to really understand the air quality problem in the city. So we set out to close that gap, right? With our limited resources, we were able to contribute 3 additional reference grade monitoring stations. And for the first time in Indonesia, we also deployed continuous black carbon monitors, 5 of them, in fact, across a different part of Jakarta. But it wasn't just about deploying instrument on the ground, right? Because it was also about working side by side with local environmental agencies, finding the best location, building a shared understanding that data and monitoring matters. And we spent a lot of time doing training and capacity building. And we're happy to say that, you know, those effort paid off because DLH, the local environmental agency, managed to convince the Jakarta provincial government to allocate budget and acquire 6 more reference grid stations on top of what we have contributed, right? So today, it essentially double the monitoring network in Jakarta from when we began, right? Within just a couple of years, we go from 9 to 18 reference grade monitoring station, which is an incredible progress by the city. And of course, having a strong foundation doesn't really stop just at monitoring, right? Because look, data is only powerful if it helps us to understand the sources as well, and actually what will leads to action, right? So that's why we went beyond just expanding the monitoring network. Together with our research partner like the Bandung Institute of Technology and also MapAQ, we carried out a comprehensive source awareness study. Right, so we go from emission inventory to source apportionment in East Jakarta. We perform black carbon analysis to really understand how we could quickly apportion black carbon data into whether it's coming from biomass burning or whether it's coming from to the transport sector. And we even go as far as doing source attribution study with WRF chem modeling, right? So in Jakarta, we already know even before when we started this project, that transport is a major contributor to the air pollution, right? Based on previous studies that's been done. But with our studies or through our studies, we were able to reveal with a much greater confidence which sources matter most. In fact, we identified that within the transportation sector, HDV or heavy duty vehicle like trucks and buses are the largest contributors to air pollution, despite only making a very small fraction of the road vehicle category. So this was a great insight. And these insights are not just academic insight, right? We have been actively engaging with regional and also national stakeholders, including DLH, the Transport Agency, the Ministry of Maritime and Investment, Ministry of Environment, to push for more ambitious policies, such as citywide Euro 4 implementation, scaling up the LEZ in Jakarta, and transitioning government HDV fleets to a cleaner technology, starting with refuse truck from DLH. And those are the type of things that we're doing on the ground to really understand these different sources of pollutions. And with that, I don't want to spend too much time on this. I'd like to invite Prof. Puji, our co-principal investigator for CAC, to share more about our scientific findings before we jump into later on a panel discussion. So I'm going to switch to Bahasa Indonesia right now, and you can go to your bottom right corner. If you click on the globe icon, you can switch to the English channel because now we'll be speaking in Bahasa. Ya, terima kasih banyak Prof. Puji sudah
Thank you very
meluangkan
much,
waktu ya
Professor
untuk
Puji.
hadir di
Thank you very
webinar
much
ini.
for giving
Mungkin
us your
saya
time for
silakan
taking part in this
untuk
webinar.
memberikan
Now, I
presentasinya.
would like to give you the opportunity
Terima
to
kasih,
continue with the
selamat malam
presentation, Professor
Mas
Puji.
Dani dan juga
Thank you. Good
seluruh
evening, Mas
peserta
Dani,
atau
and greetings as
partisipan.
well to
Good
all
morning,
of the
selamat
attendees
malam,
joining
selamat
us
pagi.
here
Because
this
it's from different world.
evening or good morning or good afternoon
Saya
from
akan
wherever you are joining.
menyambung apa yang disampaikan
So
oleh
please allow me to
Dani
continue the
terkait
point
dengan
that was shared
inventarisasi
earlier
emisi.
by
Di
Dani.
sini
I will explain
dari
about
sektor
emission
transportasi di
inventory,
Jakarta, kami
specifically
melakukan dengan
with regards to
pendekatan
the
yang disebut
transportation
dengan
sector
bottom-up
in
approach,
Jakarta.
di mana
We
untuk
have a
bottom-up
bottom-up
approach ini
approach
kita
that we are
memerlukan
applying.
data-data yang sangat
And in this
rigid,
case,
termasuk
we
adalah
require
jumlah
rigid data.
kendaraan per
This
jenis
includes the
kendaraan.
total
Jadi tidak
number
hanya
of
jumlah, tapi
vehicles
jumlah
as well as
setiap
the
jenis
types
kendaraan,
of
kemudian juga tahun
vehicles,
kendaraan, jadi fleetnya
and
mungkin
also
belum tertulis
the
di sini,
year
tetapi ada
of
fleetnya,
production
jadi
for the year.
tahun
We also
kendaraannya
have it
sendiri
for
supaya
fleet
bisa
as well.
menentukan fuel ekonominya.
And
Kemudian yang
the
berikutnya juga
purpose
kita
of
yang
this
paling
is to
penting
be
adalah
able to
VKP.
calculate the
Untuk
fuel
VKP ini
economy or
kita
the
juga
fuel
melakukan survei
efficiency.
langsung
What's also just as important is the vehicle kilometer traveled, or VKT, and we do odometer surveys for this purpose. We also do traffic counting to be able to verify the data that we are receiving from the traffic department so that we can understand the types of vehicles on the roads as well as the total number of each type of vehicle. Next slide, please.
Ya, di sini tadi sudah disampaikan bahwa the main source
So, ladies and
dari
gentlemen, we have
polutan
heard
SO2
beforehand that the main
PM2.5,
source
BC itu
of
adalah dari
pollutants like
heavy duty vehicle.
PM2.5,
Sebenarnya terutama
CO,
truk
and so
dan
on
bus,
is mainly from
tetapi
heavy
juga
duty
selain itu
vehicles,
sebenarnya kendaraan
mainly
yang
trucks
berbahan
and
bakar diesel
buses.
itu juga
And beyond
mempunyai
that,
pengaruh
diesel
yang cukup
fueled
besar
vehicles also
terhadap
have a
kontribusinya
relatively
terhadap
significant
polutan
role and
SO2, PC, dan
contribution
juga PM
towards
2,5. Sementara
pollutants
untuk
such as SO2,
kendaraan sepeda motor
PM2.5,
itu mempunyai
BC,
kontribusi yang besar
and on the other
terhadap
hand,
polutan CO dan
motorcycles
non-methane
greatly
VOC.
contribute the
Nah, untuk
pollutants
itu
of
kami
CO
mengembangkan
and
kebijakan atau
non-methane
senario
VOC.
kebijakan untuk
As a
mereduksi
result, we have prepared
polutan-polutan
various
tersebut
policy
di
scenarios
Jakarta.
to
Nah, kita
reduce these
sebenarnya hanya
pollutants in
menekankan
Indonesia and
dua
specifically Jakarta.
policy scenario yang
We are
kita gunakan
focusing
dan kita
on
evaluasi
two
dalam
policy
studi ini,
scenarios
yaitu yang pertama
specifically
untuk
in this study.
mengadopsi Euro
The
4
first one
di
is to
Jakarta,
adopt
kemudian yang
Euro
kedua adalah
4 in
mengadopsi
Jakarta.
kendaraan
The
listrik
second is
dari
to
sepeda
adopt
motor.
electric
Nah, ini
vehicles,
mempunyai pengaruh yang cukup
especially
besar terhadap
motorcycles.
reduksi emisi
And these two
untuk
scenarios
polutan
have a
polutan yang tadi kita
relatively great
sebutkan,
impact to
diantaranya untuk
reducing pollutants.
adopsi Euro 4 itu bisa menurunkan
And
SO2
the adoption of Euro
hingga
4, for
mencapai
example,
hampir
can reduce
80%.
SO2
Sedangkan
by
adopsi
80%.
Euro 4 bisa
On the other
menurunkan DC
hand,
dan juga PM2,5
this can also reduce DC
sekitar
and also
73%. Nah,
PM2.5
sedangkan untuk
by
adopsi kendaraan
approximately
listrik sendiri ini
73%.
bisa
Now, with regards to
menurunkan
adopting
CO
the electric
di
vehicle
50,
itself,
hampir
we're able to
51%
reduce
dan
CO by
non-methane
approximately
VOC bisa
51%
mencapai
as
hampir
well as
82%.
and
Ya.
non-methane
Jadi itu
VOC by
peran
approximately
dari
82%.
kedua policy scenario yang
So,
sudah kami
these are the two
evaluasi dan
policy
kami
scenarios that we
hitung
are
ya di sini bahwa
evaluating
penurunannya
as well.
sangat-sangat
And we
bagus,
hope
sehingga
that
harapan kami
we will
tentunya
be able to obtain
kedua
great reduction as well.
kedua
And
policy
by
scenario
doing
ini
so,
bisa
we hope
diadopsi
that both
untuk
policy
Jakarta
scenarios
secara
can be
khusus dan
adopted for
secara
Jakarta
umum di Indonesia.
and
Terima kasih, saya
generally
kembalikan Mas
in
Dani.
Indonesia. So that's all. And back to
Terima
you, Mas
kasih,
Dani.
Bu. Mungkin
Thank you very much for
saya mulai
that,
aja langsung dengan
Ibu
pertanyaannya ya, Bu.
Puji.
Tadi memang
I will
sangat
start off
insightful
with a
sekali
question.
presentasinya.
So, this
Mungkin dari
presentation is very
perspektif Bu
insightful
Puji ya,
indeed.
seperti yang kita
I
sudah
want to
lihat tadi dari
ask
data
about your
policy
perspective,
scenarios
Professor
ini, kita
Puji.
bisa lihat kalau
So, from the
beberapa
data
skenario
on the
seperti Euro
policy
4 dan juga
scenarios, I think we can
elektrifikasi
understand
motor
that
itu
Euro
bisa
4 as well as the
menghasilkan
electrification
reduksi
of
emisi atau
motorcycles
impact yang
can
cukup besar ya di
reduce
Jakarta.
emissions,
Tapi
and it will have a
seperti
great
yang kita
impact
tahu, Bu
for the
Puji,
city of Jakarta.
kebijakan-kebijakan
However,
seperti ini
Professor
memang
Puji,
masih
we also
menghadapi
know
berbagai
that
hambatan ya.
these types
Contohnya
of
Euro 4 yang
policies
memang
still
sudah ada
encounter various
regulasinya sejak
obstacles.
beberapa tahun yang lalu,
For
tapi
example,
memang
for Euro 4, maybe
ketika
we have
masuk ke tahap
policies
implementasi
issued
itu
several
masih
years
banyak
ago,
hambatannya, Bu.
but when it comes
Jadi
to implementation, there are
menurut Bu
still
Puji ya,
many
bagaimana
obstacles that
kita
we are
dapat
facing. So,
menjembatani
Ibu Puji,
antara
my question is,
data
how
dan juga
can we
finding-finding
bridge
dari
between
riset-riset seperti
data
ini
and
kemudian dengan
findings,
kebijakan
specifically
sehingga
research
implementasinya bisa
findings,
lebih efektif, Bu?
and also
Mungkin itu, Bu,
policies
dari
so
saya.
that we can
Ya,
have
terima kasih Mas
effective
Dani. Yang pertama
implementation?
yang ingin saya
Thank
sampaikan
you very
adalah
much for that, Mas Dani.
ketika kita
What I can
sering saya
inform you
sampaikan
is
juga ya,
that,
ketika
and
kita
I
membuat satu
often say
kebijakan
this,
baru atau policy atau
when
peraturan
we are
baru, itu
issuing
harus
new
sudah disiapkan
policies
support
or new
sistemnya. Nah,
regulations,
ini
we need to
kadang yang
prepare the
tidak
support
terjadi
system.
di Indonesia, kebijakannya muncul,
Unfortunately, what's
support
lacking in
sistemnya itu belum
Indonesia
siap.
oftentimes
Jadi
is
seperti
that we
Euro
have
4
the
itu sudah
policies in place,
dari
but we do not have the
2018
support
itu untuk
system.
bensin,
So,
kemudian
for
untuk
example, for
kendaraan
Euro
berbahan
4,
bakar
we had
diesel
that from
2021, kemudian
2018,
2022. Tapi support
and
sistemnya,
then there
bahan
have been
bakarnya
some
tidak
delays.
siap.
But
Readiness
the
untuk
problem
menuju ke situ
is
itu
the
tidak,
fuel
sehingga itu
itself.
menjadi satu tantangan
And
tersendiri
this
bagaimana
then
kebijakan
results
itu
in
bisa
challenges.
dibuat dengan support system yang baik, sehingga once dia keluar
And
kebijakan itu bisa
once the
diimplementasikan. Nah,
policy is
ini sampai
issued,
saat ini
we
mungkin
then need to implement it.
adopsi Euro 4 juga masih belum
For the
sepenuhnya
adoption of
tercapai
Euro
seperti
4
yang
itself,
ada di dalam
maybe
roadmap yang
it's not
sudah
fully
kita
achieved
canangkan
yet.
sendiri ya sebenarnya. Nah, untuk
And
itu
this is
bagaimana
actually already
mungkin
specified specified in the
ada
roadmap as
baiknya
well.
kita
So
memang agak sulit
maybe
karena ini pertama
it would be
menyangkut
good
pada
as well
kesiapan.
if,
Kita juga
for
tidak tahu
example,
apakah
we
menjadi
ensure
prioritas
that
dalam
we are
menangani
fully
polusi
ready
udara ini
and
menjadi
that we
skala
are indeed
prioritas bagi pemerintah.
prioritizing
Kemudian
the
juga
issue
apakah
of air
juga
pollution.
kesiapan dalam arti juga funding
Likewise, we
karena
need
ini
to
juga
also
memerlukan
assess
dana yang cukup besar
readiness in
untuk
terms of funding
implementasi
because this
subsidi
requires quite a lot of funding,
apa
especially with
subsidi
regards to
perpindahan dari
subsidies
konvensional
as well that
kendaraan
would
menjadi
allow
kendaraan listrik.
transition
Tadi itu
from
juga perlu
conventional
subsidi,
vehicles to
kemudian
electric
juga untuk bahan
vehicles.
bakar Euro 4 ini juga belum
Likewise, for the
semuanya
Euro
itu masih
4
juga
fuel,
memerlukan funding yang besar. Tapi
that would
barangkali
also
apa yang
require
kita
quite
sampaikan ini
large
menjadi
funding
sangat
as well.
penting
And I
dan sangat
certainly hope
bagus untuk
that this
pemerintah.
will be very crucial
Kemudian
for the
dengan
government
bekerja
in the
sama
future.
dengan DLH dan
And by
tentunya
working
harusnya sampai ke
together
pemerintah pusat
with
juga.
the
Jadi mungkin
environmental
tidak hanya DLH
agency
karena nanti
and with
kalau
the central
kebijakan ini
government,
dilaksanakan
we
tentu
hope
tidak hanya
to
untuk
have
Jakarta,
better
harusnya untuk
improvements in the
seluruh
future.
Indonesia. Sehingga ini
And we hope that
keberkatannya
this can be
bagaimana kita bisa
replicated
membawa
beyond
ini
Jakarta
ke
so that
pemerintah
it
pusat,
is
baik
applied
dari
nationally. So the
level
main
DRI
duty
atau
now
dari
is to
DLH
push
atau
this
dari
agenda to the
scientific
national
sendiri itu
government
menjadi
by working
support
together with
sistem yang bagus
WI,
untuk mengembangkan
with
suatu
the environmental
kebijakan baru.
agency,
Dan
and
tentunya
with the
saya
academic
berharap
sector
bahwa
so that
scientific
we
data
can
ini
package
bisa
this
diadopsi
as
menjadi dasar dalam
policy
menetapkan
that is
prioritas
science
kebijakan di
based.
dalam
And hopefully by doing
menangani
so,
polusi
this can
udara. Yang
be
mana dulu yang
prioritized
mau
as the
dilakukan
government's
gitu ya.
policies
Dengan
because
adanya
indeed
dasar
we are
scientific
competing
evidence ini
with
pemerintah bisa
many
memilih
interests.
kira-kira yang mana
But
dulu
by
yang akan
offering
diprioritaskan
scientific
sejalan
evidence,
dengan
hopefully
kesiapan
we
maupun
can
dana
better
yang ada.
sell, quote
Mungkin
unquote,
itu yang dapat
the
saya
issue
sampaikan
of
Mas
air
Dani. Terima
pollution.
kasih.
So that is what I can share with you. Thank you very
Baik,
much for your
terima kasih
attention.
banyak Bu Puji.
Thank you
Mungkin
very much for that,
karena
Professor
waktu
Puji.
ya Bu, saya
Now,
langsung akan
unfortunately,
beralih ke
time is not
Bu
in our
Wei
favor,
dari
so I
DLH.
will now
Jadi
ask
kita juga
Ibu
di sini akan
Wei.
mendapat
Ibu Wei
perspektif
is
dari
from the
pemerintah
environmental
ya mungkin ya.
agency. So now
Bu
we
Wei
will be
ini
hearing
Head
from
of
the
Environmental
lenses
Quality
of the
Monitoring
government.
Subdivision di
So
Delta.
Ibu Wei is the
Dan
head
mungkin
of the environmental
saya
quality
langsung aja
monitoring
masuk ke ini ya Bu,
subdivision of the
diskusinya.
environmental
Nah,
agency.
Beth, can you please switch to the next slide?
Next slide, please.
Thank you, Beth. Iya, Bu Wei, jadi seperti yang kita lihat ya,
So
Bu,
Ibu Wei,
Jakarta ini kan in term of monitoring
Jakarta,
jadi
in
jaringan
terms of
pemantauannya sudah berkembang
monitoring,
sangat pesat ya dalam waktu beberapa
has
tahun terakhir
made
ini.
various
Low-cost
developments in the
sensor
recent
maupun reference grade
years. For
station itu
example,
sudah
it
sangat
has
berkembang.
low-cost
Nah,
sensors, it
mungkin
has
pertanyaan
reference
saya,
grade
Bu,
monitoring stations, and so
selain
on.
dari memberikan
My
peringatan ya,
question
pasti memberikan
is,
peringatan kepada
in
masyarakat
addition
itu sangat
to
penting. Tetapi
issuing
bagaimana
alerts
data-data monitoring
to
ini
the
dapat
public,
juga kita pakai
how can we
sebagai alat
ensure that
evaluasi,
this
Bu, terhadap
monitoring data can
aksi
be
dan kebijakan
used
yang sudah
for
berjalan ya, utamanya yang
evaluating the
ada sudah
actions and
diterapkan di
policies in
SPBU
place?
DKI
For
Jakarta.
example, what
Nah,
is already applied in the
mungkin itu Bu
SPPU
dari
of
saya.
Jakarta?
Pertanyaan pertama.
That's the first question for you.
Terima kasih Mas Dani.
Thank
Selamat
you, Mas Dani,
malam
for the question.
semuanya. Kalau
Good
Jakarta
evening,
ya, tapi
everyone.
tadi kan ada yang
For those of you
siang,
joining
ada
from
yang pagi
Jakarta,
gitu ya.
and good morning
Terima
and good
kasih
afternoon
sudah
from those of you
diundang
joining
dalam
elsewhere.
acara
Thank you very
webinar
much
pada
for this
hari
invitation
ini.
to the
Dan saya
webinar.
juga sebelumnya mengucapkan terima kasih
And
kepada
beforehand,
WI
I
yang
would
sudah
also like to extend
membantu
my
kami
thanks
di
to
DLH
WI.
Provinsi
Thank
DKI
you for all
Jakarta
of the
atau
support
Pemprov
offered
DKI
to the environmental
untuk
agency of Jakarta
bisa
province.
meningkatkan lokasi-lokasi
So we hope
pemantauan
to be
yang
able
sebelumnya
to
kita belum ada
make
titik tersebut
improvements
itu
to the
dibantu
monitoring
sama WI.
stations.
Nah, tadi dari
And
pertanyaannya Mas
with WI support, we were
Doni
able
tadi,
to
Mas
make
Dani,
various
mohon maaf,
improvements.
sebetulnya
Mas
memang
Dani,
seperti yang
to
Prof.
answer your
Puji
question,
sampaikan juga ya, kita kan
I
kepingin
think it's similar to
ketika
what Professor
ada,
Puji was
misalnya tadi
saying.
ya, Prof. Puji sudah
Let's
menyampaikan
say we have heard from Professor Puji
upaya masukan berdasarkan kajian
about
bahwa
various feedback
eh,
in terms of
bisa
the review itself.
tadi poinnya adalah kalau mau
So the key
mengurangin
point here
parameter
is
A
if we
ya
want
itu
to
ininya EV
reduce
gitu kan.
parameter A,
Terus mau parameter B
then
ini
we need to
apa
use
misalnya.
EV.
Nah, itu dengan pusat
And vice
pemantauan
versa.
kita
If we
itu
want to
kalau
reduce
misalnya
parameter
tadi
B,
hasilnya
what
Prof. Puji
measures do we need
kemudian
to
mau
implement?
kita adopt ya, kemudian kita
If, let's
coba
say, we were to
inikan
adopt the
jadi
recommendations that
regulasi
Professor
di
Puji was
nasional
sharing,
maupun di
and if we
Pemprov
were to
DKI begitu
integrate
ya,
this
itu
as part of our
regulasi tadi
regulations, emissions,
itu akan terlihat kan Mas sebetulnya.
then
Akhirnya
we will be able
apakah
to
efektif
see this being
kebijakan
reflected,
tersebut?
and
Itu yang
afterwards
pertama.
we'll be
Yang
able
kedua
to
juga
evaluate
ketika memang
whether the
kita akan
policies are
melihat
effective or
kondisinya
not.
makin buruk kah kualitas udara
Or
Jakarta atau bagaimana gitu.
will
Jadi
the
memang
air
kita sangat
quality actually
perlu
worsen?
tren
So that's why we need to be able to evaluate the trend. This is also considering that Jakarta aims to become a global city. This is certainly the target of our new government, and as such, we need to improve our monitoring stations. So, Mas Dani, for example, as you mentioned, ideally, we need to have 25 monitoring stations, and they need to be reference grade. However, at the moment, unfortunately, we have yet to achieve that. And we then need to implement it accordingly so that we can improve monitoring. So we definitely hope that by having more monitoring stations and having it well distributed, we will be able to better identify the source of pollutions. And it's not only from the transportation sector alone, because there's also waste burning as well in Jakarta. So, for example, if you go through the toll roads, you'll be able to see this as well. However, with early detection and by using sensors that are placed in various points that are relatively near to each other, we'll be able to have better evaluation. So we hope to be able to detect other sources of pollution beyond the transportation sector.
Baik, terima kasih banyak Bu
Very
Dani.
well,
Kami
thank you
juga
very
ini
much.
sangat berterima kasih
And on behalf of
untuk support
WRI,
kesempatan
we
dan
are very
PLH
thankful for your
yang
continuous
diberikan pada
support,
kami,
especially from the
dalam
Office of Environment,
kerjasama kita ya untuk memasang alat-alat monitoring
throughout
baru
our
ini yang tadi juga
collaborations
sudah
in installing the new
mungkin
monitoring
karena
tools.
keterbatasan waktu, saya hanya cukup
As
untuk
our time is
memberikan
running out,
waktu satu
unfortunately,
pertanyaan Bu.
I only have
Mungkin
one
saya
more.
akan
I
beralih ya
only
di
have
speaker
time
ketiga
for
ya,
one more
yaitu
question.
Sumi
I would like to
Mehta.
now
So
move
I'm going to
to
switch
the
back
next
to
speaker,
English
Sumi
now.
Neta. I will switch back
For
into
our
English
last
now.
speaker, which is Sumi Mehta. She's the Vice President of Climate and Environmental Health from Vital Strategies. So Vital Strategies was also our partner when we start a Clean Air Catalyst program in Jakarta. So I'm not sure if Sumi is here. I know that you are on your way to New York City.
I think she was having some connectivity issues, so I might suggest, unless we hear from her, that
You
we
can
actually
hear me
move.
now?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you
Yes,
hear
we
me?
can hear. Yeah, we can hear you now, Sumi. Right. Thank you, Sumi.
From the public health perspective, we're really trying to think about, how we can bring air quality into public health practice. So, whether we're thinking about government policymakers, clinicians, frontline medical officers, or other health workers, there's been a lot of effort within this project across all cities to train and engage medical students in Jakarta, clinicians, district health officers, and ASHAs in Indore, and also community medical officers to really get engaged and to really serve as amazing advocates for clean air. Now, I think this panel, we've really tried to also emphasize how critical it is to use data to inform action, starting with being able to measure the health impacts, but more importantly, over the long term, to be able to demonstrate the health benefits of actions that are being taken. And so a lot of the work that we have been emphasizing that we're really trying to do along the way is to also integrate local health and air quality data to help quantify impacts and also to show how exposures and impacts can be distributed across the city. So we can also see whether there may be inequities in exposure to also be addressed through actions that are being taken. So we're actually still one of the final deliverables of our collaboration is really working with some of the other members to be able to take the exposure and air quality monitoring and prepare a health impact assessment for Jakarta, for example. Over.
Yep, thank you. Thank you so much, Sumi. Maybe just one quick question for me. I know that Vital Strategy has done a lot of health impact assessment study in Jakarta.
Danny, I'm sorry. I think we're going to have to move on. I
Right,
know that
right.
there's so
No
much to
problem.
go on the health, but we really want our indoor colleagues to have time. And so I apologize on behalf of having to step in and do that difficult. on transition, but I would like to transition to the indoor team and thank you all
Thank you,
from
Sarah.
our government partners and our on the ground, Dr. Fuji and Sumi for joining on her way up to New York. So let's go over to indoor, and I'm going to turn it over really quickly to Azra Khan, who is the transport manager for the WRI India team, to really talk about some of the practical, financially supported solutions that are underway in indoor. So over to you, Azra.
Hi, thank you so much, Sarah. I we can move to the next slide. Yeah, so for indoor, I think for us, the biggest learning has been how science, partnership, and political will can all converge to bring the real change on ground. And when we started Indore, I think similar to what Jakarta was also saying, the very first step for us was to strengthen the data system. So I think very briefly, just talking about the approach that we followed for Indore was, first to strengthen the data systems for the city. And for that, we followed like a bottoms-up emissions inventory approach. And we were able to gather a lot of reliable and locally relevant data, which not only helped us in identifying where the emissions were coming from, but also what are the most relevant mitigation measures were for the city of Indore. Secondly, we also understood that data in itself was not enough, and it required local ownership from the city, from the local stakeholders. And for that, we engaged with a lot of stakeholders from the city, ranging from academics to health practitioners to civil societies, and brought all of them together. And lastly, following a phased and an inclusive approach throughout the process of designing solutions is what we followed for Indore. And in our case, the emissions inventory, gave us transport along with road dust as one of the key sectors for Indore, or as one of the dominant sectors for Indore, which was contributing around 70% for PM 2.5 and 80% for PM 10 emissions. So from all of this exercise and from taking cue from the emissions inventory, we then moved on to designing the solutions for the transport sector. And we designed around, we came up with around 8 priorities solutions for Indore, focusing on reducing transport emissions, which ranged from, focusing on high emitting vehicles like your commercial vehicles to your focus on, promoting public transport, improving the walking and cycling infrastructure, parking regulations, pollution control checks, and just an overall focus on road dust, because that was a major component as a result of our emissions inventory, and just continuing with awareness creation activities. Now, just to ensure that these solutions don't remain just one-off ideas and a part of a structured approach, we also designed a roadmap for the city of Indore, so that the city could take a phased approach and a manageable approach towards implementing the solutions that were proposed. And we also came up with priority wards or priority areas in the city, so that the implementing agencies could understand where to start from, or what are the areas which require focus first. So this was the approach that we followed for the solution design. Now, in doing all of this and also the data that we collected so far, what we also did was to do some impacts assessment studies. So the partners, our colleagues at EDF, conducted the health impact assessment as for the solution for the transport solutions, and broadly, the assessment revealed that if implemented, the entire suite of transport solutions could lead to a reduction in 3% deaths avoided annually, and an 80% avoided new childhood asthma cases as a result of the transport solutions. We are also working on estimating the gender and equity impact assessment and the economic impact assessment from the data that we have collected, and that will be out soon in the public domain. But in our case, I think all of this was not possible without the partnerships that we have, built in over the years of the CAC. We engage with different stakeholders across, diverse groups of students, health practitioners, community health workers, even media. We engage with media in a very collaborative way. And we brought all of these together in a coalition, which was called the Indore Clean Air Coalition. And I think what was very powerful, the most powerful outcome for us was the political will that it generated in case of Indore. So we launched the Clean Air Coalition. The Honorable Mayor of Indore launched the Clean Air Coalition. And the very next day, in his annual budget speech, he announced the dedicated budget for 10 wards for air quality improvement. And these were the same 10 wards that were suggested as a part of the CAC briefing to him just the day before. So all of this has shown that how, bringing science, partnerships, political will, all of this together, how this can really help in converging real action on ground. Now, after this announcement, the commitment from the mayor has continued. He has also announced observing No Car Day in Indore. And it's been almost 3 years now. Every year, the mayor and the Indore Municipal Corporation have been doing this activity rigorously every year on the World Car Free Day. And what it has shown is that, when political leadership is on board and when they show commitment, the real action on ground is possible. So this has been our journey for Indore. I will take a pause here and I would now like to call upon the panelists. We have a diverse group of panelists with us. And first, I would like to call upon Ritesh. Ritesh has been leading the science studies for Indore, and he's also been leading the data aspect of the project for us. Ritesh, are you here?
Yeah, can you hear
Okay,
me?
yeah, I can hear you. Ritesh, hi.
Yeah,
So I think on the data part, can you talk a bit about the importance of granular data in our case and how it helped us in not just emission estimation, but also in designing the solutions for the transport sector? So yeah, over to you.
yeah, thanks, Ajra, and thanks everyone for joining. So, as Nairobi and Jakarta team was mentioning that how it is very, very important to have granular data, and that granular data also need to have a large quantity to understand the not just understand the emission sources, but understand how to design the solution and the better solutions. For Indore, if you see the first graph, that tells that how many different category of the vehicle being registered in Indore district through this data we have got from the RTO. And you see that 76% is the two-wheeler being registered throughout the year from 2002 to 2020. And then 15% is the four-wheeler, and then remaining some other vehicles also there. So the question is that when you do the emission inventory preparation or when you do the solution preparation, then this registration vehicle data does not help you, because this will tell you the city-wise or district-wise information, but it won't tell you that how this information is actually diversely or at different location is changing. For that purpose, you need to understand that first you need to understand that out of how many registered vehicle are, how many of them are actually running on the road, and out of this RTO vehicle registration, how many of from the cities and how many coming from the outside of the city. To do that, you need to collect secondary data from different sources, or maybe you need to do the primary survey. For Indore, we did the primary survey. In the primary survey, we have collected we have done survey at 14 inner cordon point and outer cordon point in Indore. This inner and outer cordon point are located at different land use, land pattern, socioeconomic status, population density. You can see these are located at different places. Also, road types like arterial, sub-arterial, highways, collected roads, they being considered. Based on that, we have conducted 12 hours TVC and OD survey in these areas, and based on the TVC and OD survey, we found out that there are which year of the vehicles moving and what category of the vehicle is moving. Azra, just back. Okay, sorry. The previous slide. I just wanted to. So what happens that with that information, you do some modeling work, and that modeling works tell you that out of these older vehicles from 2002, 3, 4, 5, 6, how many of them actually surviving on the road. And if you can see from the bottom left graph, it shows that not necessarily that all of the vehicles that registered survive on the road. You see around after 2016, 2017, there are high chances of the vehicle that is being there and then survived. But if you go backward in the year, then you see a survivability of individual vehicle goes down. And if you see there is a four-wheeler and LCV in Indore have a high survivability chances as compared to the other vehicles. And this survival rate actually varies from cities to cities. That's why this OD survey and TVC survey help you to design city-specific survival coefficients to understand that out of this number of registered vehicles, how many are surviving. Then you see, okay, so out of this, all the registered vehicles, there are around 20 lakhs registered vehicles. How many of them in Indore, and out of how many of them from two-wheeler and four-wheeler in 2020? So if you see in the 2020, 2019, 2020, because 2020 was actually COVID year, so consider 2019. So you see that around again 75 to 76% is two-wheeler, and out of 20 lakhs vehicles, 11 lakhs 50,000 vehicles are on road in Indore, and around 8 to 10% of the vehicles are coming from the other places in case of all the vehicles, and but for the trolley it is 25%. Next. Can you go to the next slide, please? So based on this information, we have conducted OD survey and we have taken around 2,500 to 3,000 samples from these different places. And if you can see these images that shows that we have conducted two-wheeler, four-wheeler, bus, three-wheeler, LCV and SCVs. And in OD survey, origin and destination survey, we asked a lot of questions such as where you're coming from, where are you going, what Bharat stage vehicle is yours, in which year you have purchased your vehicle, how much fuel you consume, how much vehicle kilometer travel you do in a day, what purpose of the visit. So all that kind of information we have collected for each and every inner quadrant point and outer quadrant point. And based on that, also the vehicle occupancies, and based on that analysis, we found that based on the survival function, RTO registration, OD survey, found that in Indore, if you see the two-wheeler, then 61% is 60% of them vehicles are BS3 and older. For the cars, it's a 64%. For three-wheeler, 69%. And you can see that there are a significant chunk of the older vehicle present in the Indore. And also, because this other information doesn't tell you that which fuel these vehicles use, I'm just putting a snapshots here, suggests that how these different cars are having different fuel use. So cars older than less than 3 years is having more petrol and less, similar kind of petrol and diesel. But if the age of the car goes more than 7 years, then you say that, then you can see that there is a more diesel vehicle as compared to the petrol vehicles. So this kind of information tells you that what sort of emission is there in the Indore city, and this emission is from which vehicle and which category. Other than the category, it also tells which fuel it is emitting high. Also, when you do the more granular understanding, you understand that a specific region of Indore having, let's say, HCVs, higher HCV population or LCV population, and of BS3 or older vehicles as compared to the other areas. So when you design the solutions, this information actually tells you which area you need to focus, and by implementing some sort of solution in that particular area will reduce or yield in this much of emission reduction. So the question is that, the answer is that when you have this much of information, you can design better solution. So
Yeah, thank you so much. Sorry, I have to cut you off in between. We are running very late. But yeah, the points that you raised were very pertinent. Not just understanding, it's not important just to understand what type of vehicles are registered, but what is running on road. It's important to understand that. Next, I would like to call upon Mr. Sudhir Gore. He's been leading the communication and media engagement work for the Catalyst in Indore. Sudhirji, welcome to the webinar. Thank you so much for joining. And can you talk a bit about the role of media in communication and outreach, specifically in case of Indore, and how having a good communication strategy helped in disseminating this information around the sources and the solutions among different stakeholders? Yeah, over to you.
Yeah, Azra, thank you so much. In Indore, actually, our experience showed that media is not just a channel for communication, but a stakeholder in clean air action. We did several activities under our communication strategy. We did information ecosystem assessment, rumor tracking exercise, trainings, and story fellowships, grants, etc. But beyond these trainings, story grants, we made a deliberate effort to engage the regional press around the catalyst emission studies, sources, and solutions. This wasn't about handing over technical reports, but it was about translating data into usable insights and relatable stories. For example, emissions fact sheets and transport roadmap findings became media-friendly briefs that journalists could actually use in their stories. We focused that health-centered narratives, particularly around daily life impacts like hospital visits or lost income, and these. I mean, these apart from these things, we found that these efforts resonated far from the abstract numbers. Actually, the media helped us in communicating our message to the society, and they also became a part as the stakeholders. I would also like to give example of Asha's. Our Asha's blog was a very good example when where frontline health workers became the storytellers, bringing a gender and equity dimension to the coverage. In many cases, these champions became stories themselves, amplifying our message well beyond the original data. When media is empowered with data, context, and human stories, they don't just report, they actually help drive change. That is the real legacy of the Clean Air Catalyst's work in Indore. This is a great opportunity to help, to thank Dr. Sarah Vogel, Rola Salem, Beth Elliott, Derek Schwabs from the global team, and Stella Paul, Kaushik Hazarika, Bhavya Sharma, and all the members of Clean Air Catalyst from in the India team. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sudhirji. And yeah, you rightly said this is a right opportunity to thank everyone from the team. I would now like to call upon the last panelist for our session, Professor Atul Bharat. Thank you for joining, sir. Professor Atul is the Group Director for Acropolis Group of Institutes in Indore, and Acropolis has been one of our partners since the very start of the project. Their students have supported us throughout the data collection process, and Professor Atul himself is a part of the Clean Air Coalition that we launched in Indore. Professor, I just wanted to ask you about, you've been engaged with our activities and you've also been a part of the coalition. So all of these work that have happened as a part of the Catalyst, how do you think that has helped in, building the understanding around the clean air challenges and also on the solutions and sources of pollution in the city? And more specifically, how do you think the coalition can take this forward? The efforts that have been happening so far, how do you think the coalition can take that forward? So yeah, over to you.
Thank you, Ezra, and thank you, WRI and EDF, for giving me this an opportunity to be a part of such a wonderful social program of Clean Air Catalyst on talking about the crucial area of air pollution. As you asked, Azra, Clean Air Catalyst provided an evidence-based insights on air pollution sources in Indore. And we as a team and the student team and the faculty team can understand which sectors contribute more to air pollution, like transport or road dust or agriculture, burns or so. And we were able to identify the hotspots and better understanding the impacts of air pollution into the community as a whole. As from our institute, it linked research and practices and it given a new insight. Students supported in data collection, intern, and this built their understanding on air quality issues and science, which will definitely going to help you out into their knowledge enhancement of air quality pollution. And the coalition approach helped us to see multiple sectors overlapping in shaping air quality of Indore. And it also showed how local data and evidence can directly guide solutions for the city. During that particular research, we found that the most busiest place is not the air quality index is better than the air quality of index which was not busy. So there was the reason behind. So we could find out new reasons of air quality deteriorating because of any other reasons which never came into our specific thoughts. Azra,
Yeah.
I'm
Yes. Any quick thoughts on, how the coalition can take this forward? Because you've been a part of the coalition. Just very quickly, half a
See, the
minute. Any
emission
thoughts on
mitigation
that?
strategy provided by Clean Air Catalyst gives Indore a strong roadmap of cleaner transport, which automatically, you already mentioned that Mayor of Indore had already discussed it into the budget also. With collective ownership, with the various society members and various institutions, research, uh, you as a team from city and coalition members, we can ensure in a long-term impact of maintaining this air quality. Coalition members can actively engage with the government to explore how community groups can support implementing different solutions to life, as suggested in the study. And by creating spaces for community participation and taking feedbacks, reviewing it, and the coalition can also help to ensure that solutions are not only technically sound but also owned and supported by the citizens. As you know, Indore is continuously 7 years they are getting into clean city of India by getting supported by citizens, and public support is there. The Clean Air Coalition can act as a platform where we bring together Indore Municipal Corporation, academia, research, NGOs, citizens to drive collaborative solutions to get this done. Academic institute, including ours, can provide continuous data, research, technical inputs by our student team, and to keep discussing on evidence-based data what we have. The students who are engaged with Catalyst are already a skilled and motivated young force who can carry this vision forward for years to come, and they can again train the second line of the students as interning with the same projects, and then this project can be sustained years to years to maintain that clean air quality. And by building a strong partnership, the coalition can help ensure that clean air action in Indore continues well beyond individual projects. It's a community driven project, so a coalition of so many bodies together to bring a better air quality to the city. Thank you, Azra.
Thank you. Thank you so much for those reflections. And I think for us, we have already handed over the monitoring equipments to the city, Indore Municipal Corporation, and we are in the process of publishing some of the research work that we've done so far. So yeah, I will now hand it back to Sarah for the final comments. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much. Thank you to all the city panelists and for our external partners again for joining and for doing all the work for the past now 4+ years. We had hoped for a little bit of time to get everyone's takeaways on this question. So if you have a moment to put it in the chat or send it to us, we would deeply appreciate it. But we want to end on time. We know we just scratched the surface. If we had it our way, we'd all be together learning from one another about all the incredible work that has gone on to build this foundation of locally generated, action-oriented information, public engagement and support, health sector engagement, incredible expansion of media engagement. And I think the lessons from Nairobi were incredible there. And I know we just touched on it, but I just was overwhelmed by how impressive and exciting the work is. And that it really gives me so much hope. I think this program, we started saying that we wanted to build the foundations for trust and collaboration and support and co-created knowledge. I think it's more important than ever in this world. And I hope that the connections that have been made continue and that the cities continue to find the investments they need to deliver on clean air for their people. And I just personally want to take an opportunity to thank everyone who I've had the honor to work with and those who I haven't, to working with the coalition, staying committed to the Catalyst program. It's really been an honor, and I'm so sorry the way it ended. But I just want you to know that everyone on this call gives me, and I hope many of you, just incredible hope for the future. Stephen, do you want to similarly just give a final thanks before we sign off? Oh, maybe he's lost his mute. Well, in that case, thank you all. Thank you for your time, and keep those comments coming. These webinars were recorded, and we will be sharing all those materials and the slide decks back out with all of you. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you very much, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.